Good evening, everyone, and welcome again to the Don't Believe the Hype show. I'm Valerie Kelso, the founder and CEO of the show. Tonight, as you can see, we've got another amazing, wonderful, beautiful black woman who's gracing the presence of our studio. But before I get into the show, let me tell you a little bit about the Purple Light Touch Foundation. Purple Light Touch Foundation is for women and young girls recovering from domestic violence, abuse, sex trafficking, cancer, any form of life-altering situation. We offer mentoring, we offer computer classes, we offer volunteer hours, we offer medical massages. We are an all-round company because your health is very important to us. And talking about your health, we have also got a wellness conference getting ready to take place May the 11th. It's a Saturday from 11 till 3 where you will learn so much about your body. If you want to know something about your body, how can you help yourself? You need to be at our conference. You can find all the details on Eventbrite, even on our LinkedIn page, YouTube, Facebook. You will find us. Look under Valerie Kelso or the Purple Light Touch Foundation, the Don't Believe the Hype, or even PLT Massage and Wellness. And without further ado, we are going to get into our show because I want to hear so much about Miss Vicki. So Miss Vicki, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a poet, and my poet name is Miss Vicki. My given name is Viola Blocker. You can find me on Facebook under Viola Vicki Blocker. I've been writing poetry for 25 years. It just kind of happened one day. I wrote a poem. I've kind of been writing all my life. I've been in jobs where my boss has walked up and said, I enjoy reading your emails. So that kind of sparked me to become a better writer. So I've just been writing poems. I've completed a novel, started a second novel. So just taking it a step at a time, a day at a time.
So apart from your boss telling you about your emails, what made you decide to go into poetry?
Um, it's in high school. I wrote really simple poems just for myself. Nothing to brag about back then, just because I could write it. But I think the big unction or the inspiration was when, believe it or not, President Obama was nominated, and he was standing there taking the oath with Michelle holding the Bible, and all of a sudden this poem came to me of, what would I do with a man like you?
Wow.
And so that
So do you know the poem off by heart?
no, not by heart, but
Okay. That's
but
why he's not
yeah.
your man then.
But one of the most important stanzas in it that I thought
Yeah.
is that I can create generations of people like you. So it was that type of thing. I can create a home, a peaceful home with a man like you. I can conquer nations, countries with a man like you. And so it was kind of a, I guess, altruistic view of what being with a good black man is like.
Okay, so are you saying that you've never been with a good black man?
I want to plead the fifth on half of that.
Okay.
And the other half is, what is it they say? There's probably been good black men in my life, but they weren't good for me as I kept growing and
Okay.
maturing. How did I do all right?
So what's your passion? Apart from poetry, you said you write novels. What kind of novels do you write?
the I have five. I'm working. I finished one novel, At the Well. The second novel is called Fool's Folly. And then there's three. All five novels are based on biblical women. And
Okay.
it's their stories brought to today. So you're not reading them from the perspective of being in the Bible or back in history. Everything is brought up to modern day. So women who read the books or read the novels can quickly see themselves in the story. They can find maybe through the character where they may have made a mistake or they're going in the perfect direction. But I always think the Bible is the best compass that we can have.
Because I did a Bible study, and that's what we was doing. We was working off all the women in the Bible,
Right,
and
right.
we was bringing it up into the 20th century because a lot of people look at the Bible as being outdated,
Right.
and so who's going to find their Boaz in a field when there's no field for us to glean? Do you
Exactly.
understand what I'm saying? So that's what we was doing for last year, and for some unknown reason, we stopped doing it. But it would be interesting to know what some of these women would be in today's
Right,
society.
right. For instance,
So, so apart from that, carry on. What was you
oh,
going
I
to
was going
say?
to say, if, instead of gleaning Ruth and Naomi, her mother, instead of gleaning in the field, they're gleaning out on the website, dating websites, singles websites for husbands. So we still are doing gleaning. We're still hunting and looking. It's just what was called the field. The field has changed.
That's right. And you'd be surprised to know how much things have changed. And you gave me one of your poetry books the other day. Thus is.
Thus said.
Thus said, I knew it was something like that. And I was reading some of it. So, what made you write? Because it's like English. Thus saith the Lord. So,
Right.
what made you decide to write it like as if you was an English person
Yeah.
like myself?
The first poetry book was a chapbook, and it's called Black Poems Matter. And I went through a lot of emotions writing Black Poems Matter.
Okay.
Not all good emotions, just pent up about racism, about what society does to people who are perceived different, diversity. And I thought to cleanse myself that I would write Thus Said, because Thus Said is an inspirational book. It will make you laugh and smile.
That's right.
And it'll give you a different perspective. And it's still all, most of the opinions are still biblically based, but it just has you look at life in a different way, in a more happy way, in a more optimistic way.
So, what if you was writing about the first book that you just said,
Black
the
Poems Matter.
Black Poems Matter? So, what gave you the inspiration to write that book?
The organization of Black Lives Matter. And I thought if I could write something that would kind of explain the movement, and put it in terms where people can, I guess, read it, because we see images that are sent to us, that are chosen for us on the television. But this is something, these are writings where I always, you can go, I never thought of it that way. So that's pretty much a perspective, to look at it maybe from a different side.
And writing poetry, because people talk a lot about Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. But you know what? For me, everybody's lives matter. But I know
Right.
we say about Black lives, but a lot of the other lighter skinned people don't believe that they're black. So do you address that in your book as well? Because you and I are dark.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes, we're chocolate. I do kind of address that. I do have a poem that addresses people who have made intraracial, I guess, opinions very prominent, to the point where there is a difference, there is a prejudice, there is a bias because of skin color, and I do address that.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're all from God's perspective, we are all the same. When He said on the sixth day, He created man, it's mankind. It didn't say a race, and we all know it's one race, so that's the human
That's
race.
right.
So, as far as our skin color, It's no different than God's coloring of flowers when you go out to a garden. I say, and you see all the flowers in different colors. That's the way God sees
And they're all
us.
beautiful, right?
And they all
You know
smell
what I'm
great.
saying?
Yes.
Sometimes you want the rose, sometimes you want the tulip, but no matter
Mm-hmm.
what flower that you pick up, it's still a flower.
Right.
The only one I wrote a poem about the rose bush because that the rose is a flower that everybody wants, but yet when you look at that rose,
Mm-hmm.
it's got thorns, and it will sting you, and it will make you bleed, it will hurt you, but yet everybody still wants a rose.
Right.
And that's how life is. No matter what color you are, no matter how beautiful you are or unbeautiful you think you are, we all bleed the same, and we all want to look just like that rose bush. You know what I mean? So that's
Mm-hmm.
one of the poems that I wrote. But
Love
and
it.
talking about color and race,
Mm-hmm.
this week I found out something that really hurt me.
Oh.
And there was a tool I was about to use to make up some holes in a
Mm-hmm.
purse. And the person who was helping me, she says, "Oh, Valerie, do you know that this is what they used to use on the slaves?" And I looked at that tool and I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't use it again. So you talking about Black Lives Matter, that tool brought up a lot of emotions inside of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I was going to write a poem about that
Good.
tool. Why? Because I wasn't part of the American
Right.
racism
Right.
and because I'm from England, so I never saw a lot of racism,
Right.
although it was there
Mm-hmm.
in the way of football matches and us
Soccer.
getting jobs and all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was not like how it was in America where
Mm-hmm.
we had the segregation and all the rest of
Mm-hmm.
it. And plus, I just missed a lot of that because of the
Thank,
year I was born.
thank God you did.
You see what I'm saying? But
Mm-hmm.
we never had the racism. I don't know much about it. But going back to your book about Black Lives Poetry and the Black
Mm-hmm.
Lives Matter, it just touched me and thought about that tool that the
Mm-hmm.
lady told me that was used to bore the ears of slaves. And I never knew this. And I look, and after that, do you know I couldn't use that
Mm-hmm.
tool? I got a drill.
the tra- don't let the trauma keep you from using something to still be productive.
I know, but I did everything I needed to do with my drill.
Got
Because you
it.
understand me, because it was a shock to me as a
Mm-hmm.
woman because you don't think about a tool like that piercing somebody's ears. I mean, I went and had my ear pierced, and trust me, this was before. I mean, I've always walked with God. Don't get me wrong, but when somebody push that thing in your ears, it's like
Pop.
you can you can, you see when the babies cry, you look at your pierce baby's ears when they're small and not when they're big because some swear words that would come out of their mouth, that's what the crying is.
Right.
It's a form of swear words. And I thought, wow,
Mm-hmm.
this had to be horrible.
in,
You know, so go on.
in Black Poems Matter, it opens up with a letter, and it says, "Dear Black Man," um, that we should not accept the hype
Hmm.
about who labels us or who tells us who we are. We are all created by God. There is no white dirt. And that's the hook in the poem, is that there is no white dirt. And why, as a group of people, do we still suffer or through trauma that was back in slavery? Because none of us in this modern generation has ever experienced slavery.
That's right.
But we are still traumatized by things that happened 200 years ago. So first of all is to cleanse yourself and renew yourself and understand who you really are. And it's not a label, because they've always said if you can put a label on something, you can control it. The only label is two: my name on the birth certificate, and since I've accepted Jesus as my Savior, I want to be a child of Christ, a child of God. Those are the only two labels. Now, I don't know how you can manipulate me with those two, but
And you
that's
know,
pretty
you're
much
talking
me.
about a label.
Hmm.
You can put a label on the jar and it says ginger, And then when you open it, it's something else.
Right.
A label can be changed. And
Exactly.
that's the key. Just because a label says this is pepper or this is salt, anyone can pull that label off and put something else,
Exactly.
and you can become anything that you want to become
Great analogy.
if you don't buy into that label
Right.
of labeling yourself. And many times we label ourselves, oh, we're worthless, because you know our parents will tell you you're worthless, you're not going to mount out to do nothing, you ain't going to do this, you ain't blah, blah, and it's always you. But they forget that our parents and we are reproduction of our
Hey,
parents. And
that's
so
true.
when they put all that negativity on us, they're also telling you what they think about themselves.
Exactly.
And that's why, as a child, and if you do watch this, you can change the narrative of your parents by flipping the switch and letting your parents learn how to love themselves so that they can learn to love you. So you don't have to buy into that violence. You don't have to buy into the gun violence. You don't have to buy into all the things that
Right.
they say black people have to be, because we're
We're
not.
not.
We're not that.
Our, like you said, changing labels. We've been the N word, I won't say it. Then we've been colored. We've been Negro. What is it, African American? Now, the latest thing that I've heard is now they're trying to call us, what is it, DEI, based on the diversity that they have now removed from colleges. So if you're DEI, they identify you as DEI, they can now govern how many of other people, ethnicities, can be accepted into schools of higher learning. So you just don't buy into other people's labels of you. You just don't. That's their insecurities, not yours.
And you know that
DEI.
DI,
Diversity and exclusion, I call it.
I'm going to tell you about that, right? You see, first we was you said niggers. I'm going to use a word because I'm
Okay.
not ashamed of it, because I know I'm not a nigger. Then you're African American, then you're black, then you whatever else I want to call you, right? But when they tell you that you diversity, they're telling you now that whether you're Hispanic, whether you mix,
Right.
whether you're an Indian, whether you're a Puerto Rican, whether you, as long as you've got some pigment in your skin,
Right.
now they're telling you that you are going to be called black. That's what that means. So that they're not turning around and telling you you're black anymore. They're going to clump all of us together.
I
As
see.
long as your skin isn't white, they're clumping it all together. So all the Hispanics and all the other races, all the Pakistanis and the Indians and all the rest of them
Right,
who
Asians.
think, all
Yeah.
the Asians who think that they're white because the skin color is white,
Right.
now you're being clumped under the umbrella that you are not white. You are now going to be labeled as being black. And that is what they're trying to do.
Right.
But you're not looking at it like that. And I bet you never thought of it like that, but that's what they're doing. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people, that in this world we're living in, it's either you're black or you're white.
You're either right or not.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. I know. I understand. I asked one young lady, we were walking for March of Dimes, and one young lady I knew, I asked her what was she, what was she up to? And she said she's dealing with disadvantaged youth. And I immediately corrected her. I said, no one is disadvantaged. You may live in a disadvantaged situation. That's a label. But your persona, your personality, your humanity is not disadvantaged. So don't accept that as yourself. Because God made us all. We are all perfect creations. Even to the point of people are identifying as minority. I would always say, well, God doesn't make anything minor. So don't accept the label of minority because we are not. There are
That's
no
right.
minorities.
There's not.
Not
It's just that as long as they can put us in a box,
exactly.
they know that they've already got you.
Exactly.
And maybe because I'm from another country, and my mindset is totally different. And also, one thing I can say is traveling the world opens up your mind
Yes, it
that you
does.
don't see the things that they're trying to tell you on TV. When Fox News come on and CNN, I told people I call it Fox, Sly is a Fox, CNN is full of sin. That's how I label it. You understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because rather than tell you the truth about something, they're going to tell you about the little old lady whose dog that just came back after 5 years,
Right.
that the dog was chasing her around looking for her for 5 years, and all of a sudden the dog come back, and they'll tell you those kind of stories,
Right.
but they're not going to tell you the real truth about us as black
Right.
people, what's really going on. They're quick to tell you, oh, this person got killed, that person
Right.
was stabbed, that person was shot. But when you think about it, who gave the people those kids the guns in the first place?
True. 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 What is it? The news always says, if it bleeds, it leads. So your first 15 minutes of looking at any news program is always going to be someone dying, some child, there's some type of tragedy always. I think it's good not to maybe look at the news so often, because I know what CNN and some of the others, the news is on a loop every, 30 minutes or so. If you can imagine taking your blood pressure during the time that you are watching CNN, since you know about wellness, you will find that you have an elevated blood pressure. So if you're seeing the same thing over and over and over again, it's not healthy for you. Not at all. They did an experiment on 9/11, and one of the broadcast stations kept showing the plane hitting the building over and over again. And people were just worn out by the end of the day. So
Thank God they don't show any candy bars because I'll be eating, I'll be eating everything.
that's not high blood pressure.
No,
That's your adrenaline being
but you
happy.
know what? They do it, but they do it subtle under the disguise of what's that word that they use? It'll come back to me. There's a word that they use that behind everything that they show you on TV. That's why people will get up and use a restroom. That's why you will run and go and get some
Gotcha.
candy. You'll go and get something. Every time an advert come on, you look and see how long it takes. It takes about 2.5 minutes, because they give you enough time to boil the kettle, make you a cup of tea, go into that fridge, grab the Coke, grab the things that you want, and then you
Chips.
come back down and sit down. Subliminal messages. That's the word I was trying to find.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So that's what they do. They give you enough time to go and get the things, and then and if you notice, a movie will start, and then they will cut it about 3 minutes into the movie, because they know that you're gonna, oh my God, I've got to watch the end of this. They're showing me the
See?
best part, and then they will cut it. Have you not noticed
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah,
You
they
know,
do.
and that's all. It's all deliberate when they do things like that to
Right.
mess with our minds. You know what I mean? So I try my best not to watch no TV. I'm not gonna lie to you. I do watch some news ever so often, but I spend most of my time talking to my
Right,
sister.
right. The other thing that I'm an avid reader. I just love reading because reading opens up more doors than watching TV. And I think people should read good books. And when I say good books, I mean like history books. Sometimes it's good to read an opinion book about what's going on politically. My bookshelves are full of black history books from different periods of time, from black women back to Egypt, the pyramid days, and their writings. I have a book that is called Brother Man. It's full of just writings of black men from Harlem or before the Renaissance up until today. I encourage everybody to just read a book, and that will you it'll open up your mind to things, and it'll help you really think critically. Talking about critical thinking, but the more you experience, the more you are able to be a critical thinker, and you know that from being from another place. You can all speak to that.
You
Yeah.
see a lot of different things. You know, I mean, even like um, that do the hurricane, whatever's got not the hurricane, what's going on in Dubai right
Right,
now,
right.
and I looked at it and it came up on my feed, and I did a comment and says, a man that builds his house on sand,
See,
it cannot stand,
right.
because even the Bible tells you about building your house on
On
sand,
sand.
and that's what Dubai is made up of. And the other thing
That's
that
true.
I didn't like when I went to, because I went to Dubai, and the one thing I could not stand was the fact that there was one bed for 3 people, and they was taking it in turns to sleep in that bed, and so you would see a lot of men outside, and most of these men were dark skinned, not black. They were Indians, they were Pakistanis, they were from other islands, not other continents. They was exploiting them. Basically,
Right.
they weren't just exploiting them as we talk about sex
Right.
trafficking or trafficking. They were exploiting men who went over there looking for a better way of life to help their family.
Right.
And so Dubai is built upon the backs of slaves,
Like
right? You
like here,
understand?
right.
Like here.
Like here.
And look at what is happening to Dubai right now. Do you know what I mean? Because you cannot do bad by the people that, by God's people, no matter what
What you
color
do.
you are, because at the end of the day, the Bible says, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. And so what's happening in Dubai right now, it's God taking his vengeance, because the way these people were treated to build up this country, for rich people to go there and be who, and feel that they had the right in Dubai, God is taking his vengeance out on them right now. And you know what I mean? I don't know what your thoughts on like the situation in Dubai. Have you
But
got?
I've not paid attention to that, but on a big picture, whenever you deny the humanity of someone, and that's what slavery does. That is what bondage does. You know, because there's bondage within sex trafficking. So it's whenever you steal someone's humanity or deny the fact that they're human, there is a price to pay. There is a consequence. Like I said, we're all created by God, and in that, He values our humanity. You know, our right to be, exist, to breathe. So if that is if that is being taken from someone, there still is a consequence, and we still are in the middle of that. We are seeing what is going on in the United States because we still have the situation of the Native American that has been, the rights have been removed, even to the point of setting them on land. And really, all of the land in the United States is Native American. The other part is the Hispanic people and what's going on. I don't think this is a surprise to anybody, but Texas was Mexico. All they did was just they redrew the boundary that's called, you know, along the Rio Grande. But all of California and Texas and everything in between was Mexico. So how do you deny, you know, people
The,
citizenship
that's
and the
right.
benefits of citizenship?
And if you notice, all the people then that all these countries that have done wrong, it's
They
like
will
God
pay.
is dealing with them right
Right.
now.
I agree.
They're all paying a price,
I
and
agree.
a severe price, because now to build up at that country is going to be hard.
Right.
Even the ship that we just went down the other day in Baltimore,
Right.
look how many people are going to suffer because of that.
Right, right,
Not
right.
hundreds, you're talking about thousands, millions of people are going to suffer because of it, and other countries are going to get the backlash of that ship,
Right,
that
going
one ship just going into the Baltimore,
right the
into the
harbor.
bridge.
The it's I don't and I don't know if people look that far. You know, for instance, I would say because I read the Bible, then I know what to anticipate. So I'm not surprised. I'm always looking and waiting because I'm excited to see God's righteousness and His justice play out in what we do. And when I say we, I mean humankind. So it's always interesting to see, and other people may call it karma, use that word or whatever, but it is true. There is a ripple effect to every action.
That's
There is a
right.
consequence to every action, be it good or bad. It's still a consequence. So we're just, we just watch. I think we just should become students of society and time.
So we're nearly getting ready to wrap up the show. Is there anything that you could tell women or men out there that can help them onto the road of recovery? But I don't just mean domestic violence, because
Everything.
you have got a world of wisdom and inside of you. Is there anything that you could tell the audience out there, if they, about your strength, your resilience? How did you get to where you are today?
Um, I'm a forever single person. I've never been married. I don't have kids. And a lot of people go, well, how do you make it through? Um, my faith is in God. There has never been anything that I needed that I didn't have. I have a house. God gave it to me. I know married couples who don't have houses. So I trust in Him, and He provides for me, and I hold Him to His word of provisions in the Bible, because I know He's trustworthy, and
That's
I can do
right.
that. I would tell everybody, know yourself. And I know that's kind of an esoteric thing, but know what makes you tick. Know what inspires you. And most important, know what makes you laugh. There is an old ancient uh, Asian or Oriental saying, if you are depressed, that means that you are spending too much time living in the past. If you are anxiety driven, you're spending too much time trying to live in the future, and only God controls that future. So watch your anxiety. If you are calm and at peace, that means that you are living in the moment, in your life, in the present. So always live in the now, accept the now, be thankful for the now, and let God handle the future.
Thank you. So
Yeah,
before we go, I'm going to ask you one last question.
yeah.
What does "don't believe the hype" mean to you?
It means don't believe everything that you see that may be artificial intelligence. Get a book and read it for yourself. Don't depend on the internet.
Thank you, and we've come to the end of our show tonight. And I would like to tell Miss Vicki, thank you for coming on and just sharing a word of wisdom. And I hope we will see you back next week in our next show. I don't know who we're going to have just yet. I do know, but I'm going to keep it as a surprise. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm going to do, because
Right.
everyone that comes onto our show is special. And I'm going to
Yeah.
get a few more men, because you know what? Men have got a story that they need to share, and you need to hear some stories from the men, how they become
Right.
who they are today in today's society. So I will see you all back next week. Have a wonderful and blessed week, and God bless you all.
Right.